college football week 9 picks for the 4.5 games I'm most excited about. Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me. Here are the 4.5 games I am most excited about this Saturday for college football. We will start in Utah, one of the hardest places to play, and the Ducks come to Utah where they have not won recently. They are 6.5-point favorites. The total is set at 47.5. And you can see that I have average confidence in both the spread favoring the Ducks and the over 47.5. I think Bo Nix, the quarterback for the Ducks, is the biggest piece in this game, and he is the key to a Ducks victory. And this is by far and away the best QB that Utah has faced. I know. You're going to say it's Caleb Williams. Are we really sure that Caleb Williams is better than Bo Nix? I am not. All right. By the metrics, maybe, but I just think that Bo Nix is going to come into this game very prepared. He's not going to try to do too much. He's going to stick to the script, which is something I think Caleb Williams often struggles to do. And we know this Oregon team is road tested. They went to Washington. They almost came away with a victory there. And I think Washington is a better team than this Utah team. Now, nothing to take away from these Utes who went to Southern California last week and won the game against Caleb Williams and a pretty horrible defense in USC. Now, this home field advantage is crazy for Utah, and it's going to be freezing cold, 30 degrees, which I don't think is great for Oregon. I think that plays more into Utah's hand. However, the biggest piece in this game is Utah lost their best linebacker last game for the rest of the season, and I think that is going to rear its ugly head in this one because I think Oregon is going to come out and they're going to run the ball well. They're going to, again, not do too much. They don't need big plays in this one. They can work their way down the field. They can manage clock like we saw them do against Washington and come ahead with a victory. I still see them putting up 30 on this defense. We saw USC do it last week. I think Oregon can do the same thing. Again, these are just average confidence picks. I'm not terribly confident in these, but these would be the way that I lean. We got a weird one here in Louisville. The Duke Blue Devils come to town to visit the Cardinals, who I am just not so sure about. Right now, the Cardinals are a 4.5-point favorite. The total is set at 46.5. Riley Leonard is questionable, but I think he plays as the Duke quarterback. Now, Duke last week was up 20-17 against Florida State at halftime. Again, I will say it live. Florida State is my favorite to win the national championship. I think they are a solid football team, and I will gladly eat my words later if that does not come true. Duke leans on its defense, and it played well for 3 quarters, and then Florida State ran away with it late in the game. They run the ball well, and they force turnovers, and that is what they need to do against Louisville. Now, for Louisville, outside of Notre Dame, I am not impressed with their record, with their schedule, with who they've beaten. And I don't think they beat Notre Dame. I think that was more of a case of Notre Dame losing that game. They were wedged between really stiff competition. They had a horrible stretch of 3 or 4 games there, and Louisville got the better of them. So I think that's more about Notre Dame than it was about Louisville. However, the Cardinals do play better at home. This game is at home, so that favors them a little bit. But they have 11 turnovers this season, which is 5th in the nation, 5th worst in the nation. Okay, so this team does not take care of the ball, and you do not want to turn it over against a Duke team that plays good defense, that has a pretty balanced offense. So I think 4.5 is too many for a Duke team that needs a get-right spot after last week's kind of disappointing letdown in the second half. And again, I think both of these defenses do enough to hold this game to a low-scoring match, not a ton of explosive plays. Duke's going to stop Louisville's passing offense, and we know Duke likes to run, so that should kill some clock. So plus 4.5 in the under in this one. This is a game I very badly wanted to do a green or a yellow pick, and I'm not choosing red just because it complements Georgia's logo. I don't have a ton of confidence in this one, and we can talk about why. Ultimately, if I had to pick in this game, it would be Georgia minus 14.5. That is a massive total. If it's 13.5, I feel better about it. Georgia has only covered the spread 1 time this season, which does not, again, bode well. And I would take the over 49.5, but again, I'm not confident. Now, Georgia loses Brock Bowers, their best playmaker on offense. But I don't know if it's going to ruin this offense. And I think Florida is a good matchup to establish the run. Florida's rushing defense is not great. They are ranked 55th in rushing. So Georgia, with its 2-3 backs that they have, I think they'll be able to get it going on the ground. They're coming off of bye week, and they have been tested this year a little bit, and I think they can still put up 40 points in this game. Now, the reason why I lean that is because this game is not being played at the Swamp. This is not a Florida home game. This game is at a neutral location. It is in Florida. It's in Jacksonville, but it is not at Florida's home stadium. So like I said, this team is not good against the rush. South Carolina put up some points on them. This team does have a little bit of momentum winning their last few games, South Carolina included, even though they allowed a ton of points. It's just one of these head scratchers. It's a game that I'm not touching. Okay, I'm not putting $1 on this game, but I just think it plays out where Georgia comes in, their defense holds Graham Mertz in check, and they control the ball, and it's like a 38-17 situation, and they get it done, and that's just what I like. So that's what I'm going with. On to the next one. You see it. The green means go. Extra most bestest. Stamp of approval. Tennessee Volunteers coming off of a loss in Tuscaloosa. -3.5 is my best college football bet of the week in terms of the games I'm most excited to watch. Again, this is a team that went to Tuscaloosa that was up 2 scores at halftime, and they blew it. All right, they didn't score a point in the second half. Now, Alabama's defense is much stronger than Kentucky's defense. So I'm not worried about that performance. This is Joe Milton's game to lose. People have been critical of Joe Milton all season, saying he is not a top level quarterback, which is fine. We know Tennessee can run the ball. We know they like to run the ball. We know they run the ball well. But Milton got it going a little bit in the first half against Alabama. And I think if there's a matchup to kind of regain that momentum that they had in the first half, it's against Kentucky. My goodness, okay? They are one of the worst passing defenses. And I see Joe Milton having a 200-yard, 250-yard day and putting up points on this Kentucky defense. Okay, so what's the problem with Kentucky? I don't believe Kentucky can play from behind. I think Kentucky is poised to get off to an early start, run the ball, control the clock. And I don't see that happening in this one. They're not set up for big passing plays. They're not set up for high scoring. They're set up to run the ball well, which is going to be a problem against this Tennessee defense. Right. Tennessee is 11th in yards per rush allowed. So in the nation, okay? I struggle to see how Kentucky gets back on the horse in this game against an opponent, a conference opponent, who has kind of sputtered a little bit, but I think can easily get the job done, can contain what Kentucky likes to do, and do what they need to do on offense to cover that 3.5. And at the end of the day, I do think defenses, especially Tennessee's defense, gets the better of them. So under 51.5 is an average confidence play. I could see this being a 31-17, 31-20 game, just barely getting that under. I said 4.5. This is the half, and here is why it's blank. Because when I got on to make this approximately Tuesday, Colorado was plus 17.5. And I was like, okay, I love that number. Let's talk about this game. All right? Because ultimately, I think people have gotten off the Colorado hype, and it's almost shifted the other way. We saw tremendous value on teams facing Colorado because Colorado was extremely overrated and overbet in the market, right? And now it's almost shifted back, and I don't think Colorado is 17.5 points worse than UCLA. Now, I just looked. It's 15.5. That's 2 points of movement. That's pretty big. And you could argue, well, it didn't touch that 14 yet. It did. I still, when I have 17.5 slip through my fingers, I'm not going to settle at 15, especially when I liked that key number of 17. So I think the total is right on. The total sitting around 61. I think that's fine. But off a bye week, off of an embarrassing letdown a few weeks ago. I do think this team will come in ready. I think Colorado is going to be a team for the remainder of the season that is going to play well when they are sort of doubted. And right now they're being doubted. We saw when they were not doubted, when they were favored, when they were generating all this hype, they struggled. Okay. It's something about the arrogance of this team leads to their demise, whereas sort of the humility trying to prove the doubters wrong motivated them. And so this is a game similar to games we've seen earlier in the season where they are not the favorite and they are being doubted, and I think they perform well. So would I touch the maybe I touch the 15.5 closer to kickoff. We'll see, but it's hard when you see that 17, and I don't want to sit here and preach on a 17 number that's not available by the time I put this video out. So that is that, although I do, I would lean Colorado. So that is what I got for you this week for my college pick, short and sweet. Again, guys, I'll do this every week. Oh, we forgot to look at tracking. Do we want to do that? No, it was not great last week. We'll catch up on tracking after this week. Hopefully, we'll get back on the horse. We'll see you next time.